He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. Most people mistake noise for nerve. You've seen it, the grandstand in a meeting, the midnight rant online, the sudden leap into a deal because you only live once. It looks brave because it is loud and fast. But loud is not leadership. Fast is not foresight. That kind of courage is a stage trick. Smoke, drums, and empty chests. You leave the theater with applause and no coin. Your rivals learn your temper and your timing. The swaggering move flatters the ego while it starves the state. When you confuse risk with bravery, you spend your treasury of reputation to buy a few minutes of heat. Your allies do not rally. They brace, your calendar fills with fires you lit yourself. Your attention, your gates, stay open to every insult and rumor, while real threats walk in quietly with contracts and metrics. Brave is not the shout. Brave is the silence that holds until the strike matters. Fortuna is chaos, dressed in silk. She spills coffee on your shirt before the pitch. She drops a rumor into your team. She tilts a market because two strangers panicked across the ocean. She arrives without apology, demanding you move now. If you obey her, she will parade you through the streets as a warning. Another prince devoured by hurry. Virtue is your antidote, discipline shaped into capacity. It is the habit of forcing odds before you strike, the practice of building reserve, the refusal to play on terrain you do not control. Precision courage means you scout the field. Who benefits if you act? Who bleeds if you wait? What resources back your decision when the dust rises? You stock the granaries, drill the army of your habits, align your allies, and choose the hour. You do not let an enemy choose the terms of your bravery. You choose the ground and the hour. Look at the ledger. A heated email lands at 11:07 p.m. A client hints you failed them. Your pulse climbs the tower. You hammer a righteous reply, press send, and sleep like a soldier who fired into the dark. In the morning, your message is forwarded to 3 executives and a lawyer. You won the midnight, but you bought a month of meetings and a discount you didn't need to offer. The cost isn't the words, it's the leverage you sold. Now the public clapback. Someone subtweets your work. Your followers cry for blood. You craft a devastating thread and harvest likes by the thousands. Traffic climbs. So does scrutiny. Colleagues who once vouched for you. Pause. A partner withdraws a quiet introduction because you look volatile. Algorithms forget applause, but people remember risk. The victory tasted sweet and priced like war. Finally, the risky bet. A friend whispers about a hot opportunity. Crypto, a startup, a stock. You push in more than you can afford because courage, right? For a week, you ride like a general on a white horse. Then Fortuna turns her wheel. You are managing anxiety, not assets. You sell low to stop the pain. The real loss is not the money, it is the attention you will spend recovering. The project's delayed, the trust at home strained by your sudden moods. Bravery that ignores logistics is fear wearing armor. Real courage keeps accounts. Before you move, you open the books. What is the objective? What is the collateral? How many allies will still stand if you are wrong? Can you endure a winter after this strike? You rehearse the worst case and provision it. You delay the blow until delay adds power, not rust. Then you act in daylight with receipts. Precision is not cowardice. It is mercy to your future self and terror to your foes. The painful truth is simple. Uncalculated courage feeds your enemies. Calibrated courage starves them. Do not perform that you are brave. Prepare so that you cannot be broken. When you finally speak, it will be a sentence that moves walls, not a paragraph that burns bridges. Count the cost, then strike. It is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose. Illusion 1. If you are brave, they will love you. Briefly, perhaps. But love bought with concessions flips when costs rise. The moment your standards ask something back, higher price, firmer terms, inconvenient truth, the applause hesitates. People do not love you. They love what you discount. Approval seeking is tribute paid to the wrong king. Quick cheers, slow erosion. You see it everywhere. You over-deliver for a client to be amazing, then feel insulted when they expect the miracle price again. You spill your heart on a first date to prove you are real, then watch openness treated like a free buffet. You speak up at work with heroic zeal, then knot your calendar when the team learns your flexibility is bottomless. What sells cheap is handled rough. What asks no toll builds no bridge. Love that is bought with concessions flips when you stop paying. Respect, by contrast, survives weather. It is built by clean refusals and predictable standards. You can be warm and still be firm, gracious and still be expensive. Say, here is the rate, here is the boundary, here is the timeline. Don't argue, don't decorate. Let silence collect interest. If they walk, the price of your time rises in the eyes that remain. If they stay, they sign a contract with your dignity written into every line. Call this disillusion a cure. Courage is not jumping first. It is standing fast when the crowd demands a discount. You will lose shallow affection. Let it go. Replace the sugar rush of being liked with the steady protein of being counted on. A ruler who trades sovereignty for cheers rules only the echo. Illusion 2. Truth wins because it is truth. Truth is a blade. Logistics is the arm that swings it. Unarmed truth is a martyr, not a monarch. You can be perfectly right and perfectly defeated if you lack witnesses, records, allies, and the proper venue. Facts are not self-propelled, they need horses. Think of a workplace dispute. You could charge into a meeting with righteous data, or you could build a file: emails, timestamps, screenshots, corroboration. Recruit 2 credible allies who can say, yes, this happened, and wait for the review where process, not passion, rules the table. In the first path, you are a zealot with a story. In the second, a prosecutor with evidence. One feeds the rumor mill. The other changes policy. Online, the lesson is harsher. The algorithm is a coliseum. It wants spectacle, not settlement. When you argue publicly before you control the venue, you hand the crowd veto power over your narrative. Better to collect receipts, consult counsel, and pick a stage where moderation and memory exist. A calm announcement with documents outperforms a flaming thread. Win the venue, then win the verdict. Truth also needs alliances. A solitary announcement is easy to ignore. A coalition is hard to mute. Pair your claim with partners whose reputations magnify yours. Attach your reform to a department's goal, to a customer's pain, to a regulator's language. You are not diluting truth. You are increasing its mass. Monarchs rule by court architecture, not by shouts from balconies. Illusion 3. Leaders move first. In games of skill, the impatient volunteer becomes the map. Real leaders move last, with force after scouting. Timing decides. Do not bolt at the starting gun. Study the track, the weather, and the runners who exhaust themselves, proving how early they can sweat. Waiting is not passivity. It is domination in slow motion. Markets show it. The first app in a category educates users but dies of its own experiments. The power player watches, learns where the churn lives, then enters with distribution and a cleaner promise. In a team meeting, impulsive initiative speaks, guesses, revises, and bleeds credibility across the carpet. You take notes, map alliances, track the decision-maker's tells, and ask one precise question when fatigue sets in. What constraint do we refuse to violate if we want this to succeed? The room reorients around the non-negotiable, and you gain the floor without raising your voice. In relationships, moving last reframes the dance. You do not rush to text after every ping or fill silence with nervous generosity. You keep pace. You let the other reveal their tempo, their manners, their appetite for respect. When patterns appear, you adjust with clarity, not drama. I'm available Thursdays. If plans cancel twice, I stop scheduling. You move last, not to punish, but to position. You place your standard where it can be seen and felt. Patience requires scouting. Gather micro-intel. Who chooses speed over accuracy? Who seeks credit? Who pays debts? Who dodges them? Test with small stakes. Pilot projects, limited trials, provisional terms. Decide by behavior, not speech. When the map is drawn, strike once, cleanly, the offer, the ask, the boundary, force, not noise. Put the 3 corrections together and you become dangerous in the right way. Resist the sugar of approval. Insist on the nutrition of respect. Refuse to treat truth as self-delivering. Give it transport, soldiers, and a court date. Retire the cult of first and practice the craft of last with leverage. Outcomes rule. Appearances matter. Timing decides. None of this requires cruelty. It demands sobriety. So rearrange your posture, keep your face open and your terms firm. Write policies for your life and abide by them. When tempted to chase love, ask what will still hold when the price rises. When tempted to announce the truth, ask, do I control the venue, the witnesses, the archive? When tempted to sprint for glory, ask, what will this look like after the dust, when the decision is ink? You are not here to perform courage. You are here to govern results. Move last, hit once, leave records. Let those who bartered dignity for applause learn their lesson without you on the stage. Calm spine, clear terms, patient strike. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. You call it courage, yet often it is a costume sewn by your oldest wounds. Under pressure, you don't decide. You are decided. The city of your psyche scrambles, alarms, torches, sudden orders from voices you never elected. You speak of freedom while obeying a memory. This is not fate, it is poor governance. Name the factions or they will name you. Begin with the map, your mind as a city-state, you as its ruler, and your triggers as street riots that test whether you actually command or only pretend to. The people gather in the square, timid but loyal. They crave safety over victory, routine over glory. Under stress they push you to retreat. Apologize and promise next time. Sometimes they keep you alive, often they keep you small. Across the steps stand the nobles. Your appetite for status, they love applause and symbols, titles, likes, invitations. They don't ask if the bridge is strong, they ask if the banner is large. In the offices sit the clerks, logic and analysis. They file memos, compute risks, and can paralyze action while polishing a perfect sentence. And wandering the alleys are the mercenaries, impulse habits paid in instant relief. Then arrive the foreign ambassadors, internalized voices wearing old uniforms. The parent who prized obedience, the teacher who rewarded silence, the ex who measured worth with withholding, the critic who lives rent-free in your mirror. They speak in accents you trust and say, don't embarrass us. A trigger lands, an email, a tone, a smirk, and orders fly. The people plead for retreat, the nobles demand spectacle, the clerks draft a thread, the mercenaries sharpen sarcasm, the ambassadors warn of shame, ask right there, who is issuing the order? Governance begins when you name the voice before it signs a decree in your name. Now face the chief conspirator. Humiliation, not pain, not anger, humiliation. Old embarrassments bait you into public overreach to prove strength. A teacher corrected you in front of a class. Years later, a manager does the same, and the city erupts. You type a midnight email, copy half the office, and wake to dread. You clap back in a thread to show you are not weak, and with that performance you advertise weakness. Provocateurs don't need genius, they need your predictability. They know the lever, and the lever is humiliation. Precision courage refuses the bait and spends pain privately, not on the main square. Practice on small stages. A friend jokes about your pace at the gym. Old laughter echoes from a locker room you left years ago. Your hand reaches for a cutting comment. Instead you breathe, meet their eyes and say, I'll take that as fuel, then you lift. A partner rolls their eyes during your story. Humiliation offers two paths, attack or sulk. Choose a third. Let's pause. I want to talk later, not perform now. The city exhales, the trap closes on air. Each refusal steals a brick from the scaffold of shame. Each quiet decision collects power where it counts, behind the walls, not on the balcony. Now examine pride's costume department. Pride is a nimble tailor. It dresses fear as principle, anxiety as integrity, fragility as standards. You say it's about the truth, when really it's about the picture. Use the surgical question before every bold move. Is this about outcome or image? If image, the shadow is driving in royal robes. You say you want fairness, but you want to be seen demanding fairness. You claim you're defending the team, but you're defending your place on the stage. A sovereign serves outcomes, an actor serves appearances. One builds bridges, the other polishes statues. Test the costume with examples. In a negotiation, path 1, you hold firm on a minor clause because yielding would look weak. Deals stall, relationships cool, and the city pays. Path 2, you concede the clause, secure the core outcome, and quietly protect your advantage. Which move keeps the bridge open? Which feeds your people? Or take friendship? You refuse to apologize because on principle they should understand. That principle hides the fear of seeming needy. Remove the mask, call repair, move on. Real strength is measured by stability under pressure, not by how loudly you defend your image when watched. Now turn to the barracks. Mercenary coping looks bold because it moves fast. Doom scrolling as reconnaissance, venting as oratory, subtweets as covert ops. Yet when the fire starts, mercenaries desert. They cost rations, drain morale, and leave your borders exposed. Replace them with a standing army. Discipline you rehearse when the city is quiet. Drill means sleep on time. Move your body, brief your day's wins and lessons. Prepared phrases are shields aligned. I'll respond when I'm calm. Let's take this offline. Noted. Exit routes are sovereign rights. The door you can use, the call you can end. The silence you can claim without apology. Picture tomorrow's ambush. A relative brings up your salary at dinner. The nobles want spectacle. The mercenaries sharpen sarcasm. The clerks draft a monologue about privacy. Your standing army executes protocol. I don't discuss money at the table. Pass the rice. No debate, no dagger. The city absorbs the boundary and moves on. Or at work, a client writes, circling back after weeks of silence. The people panic about rejection. Abandonment rattles chains, protocol. Acknowledge, offer options. Set a deadline and close the loop. You neither chase nor sulk. You govern. Understand the shadow's vote. The shadow is not mystical. It is the ledger of unprocessed injuries. When you set policy without consulting it, it vetoes you at the worst moment. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the management of its archives. Review the files like a ruler reading intelligence reports. Ask, what humiliation am I expecting here? What envy is coloring this map? What abandonment am I projecting onto this delay? Write the answers plainly, then train exposures you can survive. Speak last in a meeting, leave a minor message unanswered for a day, present a draft before it is perfect. Each drill teaches the shadow new law. This is your charge. Govern the city. Let the people advise safety, not strategy. Seat the nobles at ceremonies, not in war councils. Use the clerks to model reality, not to hide behind numbers. Send the mercenaries to scout, then pay them, and send them home. Hear the foreign ambassadors, then stamp your sovereignty on their passports. Keep humiliation on a watch list. Pride out of the wardrobe, envy under audit, abandonment soothed by steady presence. When pressure rises, do not improvise your identity on the main square. Enforce protocol and keep the gates. Courage is not noise, nor rage, nor the clever post that buries an opponent for a night. Courage is quiet command over the factions that once owned you. When the next trigger lights the torches, you will not perform. You will govern, the city will feel the difference, and follow. Discipline chooses. Humility steadies. I command my city. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The challenge arrives like a flare over your inner city. A comment twists your meaning in public. A private message cuts from someone who knew the soft places. A budget sheet opens red as a wound. In a breath, the ruler inside you splits. One part seizes a spear and charges. Another writes explanations that multiply. A third kneels and bargains for peace. A fourth reaches for the cloak by the back gate. Orders collide, mixed signals flood the streets. The gates swing open and anyone can walk in. In Jung's language, a complex has taken the throne. The shadow drags its trunk of scenes into the council hall and spills them across the tiles. Childhood humiliations, the breakup that still burns, the promotion you did not get, the smirk you never forgot. Each memory dresses like an advisor and issues a decree. Attack now, explain everything. Beg for mercy, disappear. Your body obeys in pieces, thumbs firing replies, chest tight, jaw locked, eyes scanning for threats, as if that could make you safe. You send one message to look strong, another to look kind, a third to look gone. The city sees a ruler with four faces and trusts none of them. Name this moment so it cannot own you. This is the trigger spiral. A small spark touching an unhealed warehouse of fuel, time warps. The room narrows. The voice of the wound grows louder than the voice of the ruler. choice collapses. Vision shrinks to one insult, one invoice, one pulsing text bubble written on someone else's terms. The archetype of the wounded sovereign rises. The crown slides over your eyes. Precision is gone. You are aiming with hands the shadow controls. Now count like a treasurer who answers to no mood. Minutes bled, 20 reading, 40 composing replies, 60 refreshing for echoes, 90 rehearsing courtroom speeches that no court will hear. Leverage burned. You showed your tells by answering fast, angry, and after midnight, allies confused. A teammate doubts your steadiness. A mentor sees you trade position for relief. A partner watches your boundaries melt on contact. Screenshots stored, every rushed line becomes an artifact in someone else's plan. Add the quiet losses, the task you did not touch, the meal you skipped, the sleep you mortgaged. The treasury leaks not only time but signal. Enemies learn your buttons. They learn you will pay to press them. Translate feeling into numbers until restraint feels like profit. If a response gains 0 leverage, costs 2 hours, and teaches enemies your reflex, the ledger says no. If silence preserves your project, your sleep, and credibility with the undecided, the ledger says yes. If a single, measured reply clarifies without feeding the hydra, fund that sentence and nothing more. This is not coldness. It is fiscal wisdom for a psyche building a city rather than winning a street brawl. Calm is a budget, not a mood. Fund what compounds, defund what flares. Now walk into optics, the unforgiving court. Intentions are not admitted. Results and appearances are. Picture the undecided citizen. The colleague watching, the client unsure, the friend who respects you but has not pledged fealty. They do not feel your history. They see your pattern. Do you lunge? Explain endlessly. Disappear, the court records cadence, tone, and timing. A midnight thread reads as unstable. A public clapback reads as vanity or fear. An absence paired with steady work reads as control. Every move sends a signal to those who have not chosen sides. Train one question before any move. What will this look like to the undecided? Not to fans, they already like you. Not to critics, they are committed to disliking you. Place a quiet camera at eye level. Remove the soundtrack of your feelings. Would your act look like stewardship or flailing? Would it look like a ruler setting law or a defendant pleading for sympathy? When the answer is unclear, wait until it is. Optics are not lies, they are angles. Choose angles that reveal your center rather than your wound. Now the hardest mirror. In reactivity, your enemy writes the script and hands you your lines. They know which word makes you sprint, which silence makes you chase, which emoji makes you bleed. You become a marionette with nerves for strings. They twitch, you perform. They collect your attention as tribute and sell your outrage for currency. The shadow cheers because it loves motion that looks like power, but motion is not command. It is choreography that exhausts the state. You can feel the strings when your body accelerates without permission. Fingers fly, breath goes shallow. Your face heats, you draft 3 answers at once, and choose the sharpest because sharpness feels like safety. That is the puppet moment. Rage dresses in royal colors and fools the guards. Fear raises the drawbridge and imprisons the citizens. The self, the deeper center Jung pointed toward, steps back from the throne, and the palace runs on alarms. In that state, you do not lead, you are led. Resolve is the blade that frees the wrist. Establish, in peace, a protocol that protects you in war. Write it where panic cannot miss it. For public attacks beneath a certain size, no response for 24 hours, then 1 sentence if required, never more. For private betrayals, pause, speak by phone in daylight, state what you will and will not accept, and decline all midnight tribunals. For budget crises, open the numbers, invite one trusted mind, and choose one move that preserves the mission, not your image. For every trigger, verify source, size, and stake. Spend attention only where returns are real. Practice sovereignty in small acts so it is present for the large ones. Stand up, breathe from the floor of your belly. Let your shoulders widen. Place the phone face down as if she thing a blade. Pick a far point to wake your horizon sense. Rewrite once, not 5 times. Touch sunlight with your eyelids. Tell an ally your plan in 10 words. These gestures sound simple, They reseat the self in the chair panic tried to steal. Understand, sometimes a firm reply prevents future raids. Sometimes quiet is the higher authority. The difference is not mood but meaning. If it builds the city, it is worthy. If it entertains the crowd or comforts fear for 10 minutes, it is a loss dressed as victory. Your task is not to feel triumphant this hour. Your task is to keep the walls strong, the roads open, the artisans funded, and the children safe in your attention. When the next flare rises, you will still feel the old ache, but you will name the spiral, count the costs, judge the optics, and cut the strings. Not because you are cold, because you are whole. You are the ruler again, and the city is learning your law. Pause, count, and choose. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. You chased warmth and became legible. Your speed gave them a map. Your eagerness drew a target. The cost was credibility. Precision courage is not about being loved. It is about being trusted to act with control. You stop performing for approval. You start becoming concrete. Respect over warmth. People ally with the predictable ruler, not the passionate one. Passion dazzles for a minute. Predictability guides for a decade. Your task is not to mirror every mood in the room. Your task is to set a standard. Others can plan around, redefine care. It is not sugar on demand. It is consistency, deadlines, and enforceable terms. Consider two managers. The first replies in seconds, accepts midnight calls, and promises we'll figure it out. People adore him for a week and drift for a year. Deadlines slide because affection replaced authority. The second sends a weekly plan, commits to Friday 5 p.m. deliverables, and enforces the handoff format, subject line, attachments, next steps. When he says yes, he means yes. When he says no, there is a clause and a date. The team stops guessing. Clients stop escalating. People align to him because his pattern is visible and stable. Respect grows where consequences live. Enforceable terms sound like this. Version freeze Wednesday noon, changes afterward, roll to next sprint. Payment clears before deployment. If tone breaks policy, the call ends. These are not threats, they are fences. Fences are not romantic. Fences prevent stampedes. People may grumble, but they exhale. Now, dignity as pressure. Dignity is not decoration, it is counterweight. The unshaken face tilts the table. Aggression is a timing tactic. Fast talk, stacked accusations, artificial deadlines. You answer by lengthening the clock, breathe, ask for specifics. Require notes, propose a time tomorrow when tempers have expired. Theater loses oxygen, decisions return to ground. Imagine a contract renewal. The vendor brings a today-only discount and a jab. Your team never responds quickly. Old you rushes to prove goodwill. New you opens the folder, metrics, usage graphs, alternative quotes. You acknowledge the offer, log the remark, and state the process. We evaluate against standards this week. Provide best and final by Wednesday 3 p.m. After that, we choose. You're neither bite nor bluff. You tilt. Their drama shrinks to data, terms replace volume. They negotiate with your standard, not your nerves. Dignity also protects your story. At a family gathering, someone pokes an old wound in front of an audience. The bait is public. Your posture stays open. Not here. If you want resolution, text me 2 times that work. You move the conflict into a room with rules. Manners become leverage. The person who truly wants peace follows you inside. The performer stays on stage and exposes themselves. Silence with a sightline. Silence is not retreat. It is reconnaissance. You do not go quiet to avoid pain. You go quiet to gather angles. Before any stance, you build a map. Who benefits? What evidence exists? How timing shifts costs? Where your exits are? Your pause is a drone in the sky. Consider the digital pile-on. A wild claim appears in the group chat. Screenshots fly. Demands for statements arrive. The urge, defend now, drown the fire in words. Precision courage waits. You capture the screenshots. You note timestamps. You ask 2 calm questions in private. What exactly happened? Who else saw this? You give no conclusion until you can see. By the time you speak, a paragraph, 3 facts, 1 decision, Hysteria has already crested and broken. Your words land like anchors, not leaves. Silence also tests character. If someone cannot tolerate your pause for basic due diligence, they are not an ally, they are an arsonist demanding your water. You do not sprint for arsonists. You document, you verify, you decide. Quiet makes manipulators impatient and honest people grateful. Build the habit when provoked. Shift from reaction to observation. Count to 30 with your eyes on the data. Ask for the contract, the message log, the policy. If nothing exists, decide from principle and write the principle down. In public, keep your stance brief. In private, keep your notes long. That is how a reputation hardens into credibility. Your decisions rhyme, patterns are loyalty. Put the three together. Predictability turns you from a performer into an institution. Dignity cools the room and steals oxygen from panic. Silence gathers the map and spots the traps before you march. You stop trying to be loved and become someone who can be trusted. Steady, measured, hard to provoke, impossible to herd. The paradox is kind. When you refuse to be dragged by warmth, the warmth that remains is real. It is earned by standard. People who value stability will find you. People who worship drama will call you cold and then they will go, leaving space for agreements that last. This is not cruelty. This is governance. Call things by their right names. What you sought was never love. It was permission to be inconsistent. What you choose now is credibility, the courage to keep terms even when emotions pitch and sway. You will not glow for applause. You will deliver on policy. You will keep your face steady while the room hunts for a leader and discovers a clock. Choose credibility over heat. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. You need both, not the roar of impulse, not the sly grin of excuses, both arranged under command. Courage is not fireworks, it is logistics. Today you build the precision courage protocol. Preparation, detection, containment, decision, execution, and review. So bravery becomes a process you can run on a Monday morning, under fluorescent lights, with a calendar full of meetings and a phone full of bait. First, pre-battle intelligence. Draw your threat map like a quartermaster counting spears. 5 provocations, 5 enemy intents. Tone of voice, mocking or syrup sweet, seeks to lower your rank so you argue for it. Public thread, tagged, quoted, screenshot, hunts your attention and audience. Delayed replies circling back. Next week, just saw this, pull you into their tempo until you chase them. Disrespect to status, interruptions, talking over you. As I was saying, test your border for softness. Money threats, discounts, withheld invoices, sudden scope, aim to stampede you into bad terms. Mark vulnerable hours and venues. Midnight texting makes you generous with future pain. Public threads make you dramatic and collectible. High-stakes meetings compress time and ego into the same chair. Set curfews and terrain control. No decisions after 10. No debates in public feeds. Complex acts move to scheduled calls with agendas and notes. The city obeys the bell. The bell obeys you. Count allies and assets. Who can witness, co-sign, or delay. The senior who says, let's take this offline. The teammate who confirms dates and promises. The finance record, the signed proposal, the email trail, the analytics dashboard. Logistics before rhetoric. The receipts march before the speech. You do not go to war with tweets, you go with papers. Second, detection and stabilization. Your body carries bells like a citadel. Heat in the face, jaw locked. Tunnel vision. These are your tripwires. When they ring, switch from story to protocol. No courtroom in your skull, just the sequence. Whisper, bells, and the city slows. Enact a 3-minute embargo. No replies, no posts, no calls. Place the phone face down like a drawn curtain. Those minutes freeze treasury outflows. Reputation, focus, leverage. Let the first wave pass. Most fires are small if you do not breathe for them. Write a briefing note. 1 paragraph, no poetry. What happened? Objective. Options A/B/C. Leverage, risk. Client questioned hours in channel. Objective, protect margin and respect. Options A, send timesheet with scope citations. B, propose paid extension. C, terminate politely. Leverage, contract clause 4. On-time delivery, competitor inquiry, risk, public escalation, counter with venue shift. The note is your general staff. It makes courage an order, not a feeling. Third, the decision rule. Adopt the minimal force doctrine. Say less than you can, later than they want. If they demand instant clarity at 4:58 p.m., you say, I'll respond after I review. The fox understands traps. The lion holds the gate. Deny tempo and intelligence. Keep them guessing about your reserves. Shift venue to regain optics and record, public to private, chat to email, hallway to meeting with notes. A chaotic thread becomes a numbered list. Courts are built to civilize knives. Build one. Choose term sheets over feelings. Offer choices with deadlines instead of explanations with apologies. Two paths. We proceed with the agreed scope and deliver Friday, or we add the new feature for X fee and deliver next Wednesday. Please confirm by 5 p.m. Decisions, not diaries. Move history. If the other side wants your sympathy, book a coffee. If they want your labor, sign a page. Fourth, execution. Build message architecture that spends no extra syllables. Lead with a fact. State the term. Name the next step. Stop. Per clause 4, the change is out of scope. We can include it for X. If approved by 5, we start tomorrow. Full stop. No wandering origin stories, no biography of your weekend, no fuel for escalation. Climb the escalation ladder you prepared when your head was cool. Rung 1. Warning. This channel is noisy, moving to email for clarity. Rung 2. Boundary. I won't continue without written scope. Rung 3. Consequence. If scope is contested, we pause delivery until terms are agreed. Rung 4. Exit. We are ending this collaboration effective Friday. I wish you well. You do not improvise justice while angry. You read it. Always leave a face-saving exit. Dignified doors prevent vendettas. Given timelines, we can call this an experiment and part ways. Let's frame it as a pilot that taught us X and Y. People remember whether you let them retreat with their flag. You can win and harvest future silence at the same time. Fifth, after-action review. Update the ledger like a banker, not a poet. Time spent 15 minutes, not 2 hours. Trust gained with your team for holding the line, may be lost with a client who wanted a toy kingdom. Strategic position improved because terms live in writing. Weakened if you fed the mob by replying in public. Score the move green, yellow, or red. Thank allies who co-signed. They doubled your height at no cost. Close channels that invite chaos. If a phrase failed, rewrite it. If a pattern repeats, change access or roles. Sixth, train the shadow. Courage without containment breaks furniture. You must harden the ego that bleeds when scratched. Practice humiliation drills. Let a minor point stand in the meeting. Do not correct the date, say good catch, and watch the ceiling remain. Ask a junior to mark up your draft. Nod, adopt, move on. You teach your nervous system that small losses are not death, they are tuition. Run status fasts. Schedule invisibility. 3 days a week, no posting, no defending, no peacocking. Feel the itch to prove, the phantom limb of applause. Let it pass like weather. When esteem disconnects from public noise, you return with cleaner signals and cheaper pride. Pay the pride tithe. Gift small victories to allies to buy larger leverage later. Credit a partner in your update. Forward a warm lead to a peer. Recommend a rival's guide in your newsletter. This is not sainthood. It is scaffolding. Your ego finances an alliance that in time votes for you when you are out of the room. This is the Precision Courage Protocol. Threats mapped, hours guarded, allies counted, bells recognized, treasury frozen, notes written, venue shifted, terms issued, words trimmed, ladders climbed, doors opened, ledgers scored, shadows trained. None of this depends on weather or mood. The lion and the fox now share a desk calendar, meeting links, and a spine. Courage is not your spark, it is your schedule. Courage, measured and repeatable. Peace is not softness. It is strategy held steady. You step out of the noise and into a schedule, not a cold prison, a warm discipline. Your answers slow by one breath. Your signatures speed up by one day. You speak less. You enforce more. You do not swing at every shadow. You light the corridor so shadows have nowhere to stand. This is how calm begins. Not from luck, but from rules that survive your moods. the world keeps shouting. You keep building roads and closing gates. Precision courage is the quiet engine. You choose when to act, where to act, and when to hold the line without apology. Hard to provoke, easy to respect, becomes your new reputation, and it grows without advertising. People notice your emails are brief and decisive. They notice you decline messy meetings and accept clear ones. When baited, you choose a clock, not a fist. You set preparation deadlines and keep them even when nobody is watching. You publish expectations, so nobody needs to read your mind. You reward outcomes, not noise. You do not humiliate in public. You correct in private and record the fix. A client rages. Your reply is 2 sentences, a proposed remedy, and a firm boundary. A colleague gossips, you redirect to work, or you walk. Over time, your calm stops looking like passivity and starts reading like rank. People adjust, they measure their words around you, they plan before they knock, they feel safer near your rules than under someone else's charm. With stability, allies find the harbor. Good partners hate spiking weather because spiking weather sinks ships. The reliable accountant returns your call first because you sign on time. The best engineer chooses your project because you define done. The thoughtful friend sits at your table because dinner is not a courtroom. Your restraint becomes a filter. Loud opportunists drift away. Competent builders lean in. Deals improve because suppliers would rather accept a fair price from a predictable ruler than a slightly higher price from a circus. Teams gel because the sprint is real and the retrospective is clean. Even intimacy ripens. You stop mistaking adrenaline for love. Safer rhythms replace dangerous highs. You say what you will not tolerate, then you stop tolerating it. The right people relax. The wrong people self-select out. That is not cruelty, it is border policy. Every calm day is paid for by a previous decision. You take the oath of governance, and you mean it, no rule by mood. You craft policies the way a mason lays stone, level, repeatable, weatherproof. You write your escalation ladder before the crisis, so the crisis cannot borrow your tongue. You define meeting lengths, response windows, refund rules, hiring bars, and consequences for missed promises. You adopt a cooling hour for anger and a cooling day for praise, so neither rage nor flattery can steer the ship. When your heart surges, your policy holds. Courage, then, is measured by outcomes, not by the heat of the moment. Did the runway lengthen? Did the defect rate fall? Did the family sleep? Metrics become your mirror. You trust that mirror more than your adrenaline. This oath does not sterilize you. It aims you. You can still act rapidly because you prepared slowly. You can still be merciful because you set limits that make mercy meaningful. When the market panics, your cash cushion speaks. When rumors spin, your record clears the air. When someone pushes the line, the consequence is already published. You are not unpredictable. You are legible, and legibility is respect in public life. Hope, here, is not an empty smile. It is a state that can pay its bills and keep its roads open when the storm arrives. It is friends who don't bring fires, vendors who don't bring traps, and lovers who don't bring wars. It is the quiet after the decisive. No, the surplus after the honest yes, the city that sleeps because the watch is sober and the law is known. The world stays volatile. You remain constant. Your gates stay closed to chaos. Your roads stay open to commerce and care. That is how a name becomes policy and policy becomes peace. Policy over mood, courage with precision.